obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center.
Isn't it a fact, Dr. Rice, that the August 6 PDB warned against possible attacks in this country?
I believe the title was Bin Laden determined to attack inside the United States.
I hope I live. I hope I live. He's coming down on me.
They're saying we could have stopped it. They're saying we knew about it.
وها هي أمريكا قد امتلأت رعبا فدمر
19 hijackers, 4 planes, 3 buildings, over 2 decades ago. One day, a day that shattered the modern world. A day the earth stood still. This day is September 11th, 2001, the deadliest terrorist attack the world has ever seen. This isn't just about the rise of Qaeda, the brutality of Islamic Jihad. This is about the stories of incredibly brave people in the midst of a faceless enemy. This is the forgotten history of 9/11. And this is Down the Rabbit Hole. What's up, guys? This is the Last House on the Left. This is where I chop it up with my friends, kill time, and speak what's on my mind. I have 2 old guests, and today I am very, very excited. I kind of overhyped this episode to Shane a lot and to Dan. But this is Down the Rabbit Hole number 2, and we are covering the September 11th terrorist attacks. So, boys, welcome. It's about time we had all 3 of us on a podcast together, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
How are we feeling?
Good.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of research, like just to quickly preface the first Down the Rabbit Hole that we did. These are one of the episodes, like every once in a while, if there's like a certain, I think the word I used in the past is like forbidden history or like narratives that are in like, that are kind of like what's the word? They're cemented in time in a way where we're like, oh, this was the facts and this is what happens and this is everything that was like going on before it. But with September 11th, it's very interesting because, you know, it happened in 2001. It's 2025. Mm-hmm. So it's almost been 25 years. And think about like how much, even recently, maybe it's just because, you know, we're only like two weeks away from, you know, the 24th anniversary of it happening. But I see it in media all the time. Like Shane just said this earlier. Tucker Carlson he'll be releasing his much better documentary the same day that this will be coming out. So this will be coming out, guys, the day of September 11th. Really quickly as well, obviously when covering this, it is super interesting. It is a rabbit hole. There is so many different aspects, as we will all get into, that have to do with this, you know. I mean, and that is one thing where it is up for debate if this is a conspiracy, you know. So, any other comments, thoughts, boys, before we get into it?
I mean, I just think this event, if you think about American history, it's the most pivotal event in American history, easily.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why everyone's continuing to talk about it. It will be talked about for our entire lifetimes. Mm-hmm. So like it's just it deserves a podcast like this because there's so much to it. There's so many things to discuss, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Tom's, anything else?
Yeah, just it's kind of crazy how it all went down. Just started off at like a normal Tuesday, and then now it's just like Shane said, to piggyback off what he said, just it's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely, man. And just one more time to recap. Obviously, for the 9/11 victims and all the families, like all of the, you know, our hearts and our thoughts and prayers are with you. Obviously, it's been a long time, so in some ways, it's weird how like it's almost like common. Like a lot of comedians that we both love, or we all love and follow, will have these, will make 9/11 jokes like it's no.
Yeah, but like Pete Davidson's dad like died in 9/11. He makes the most ones.
I know.
I feel like he's allowed to do that though, because that was probably part of his grieving process. To like, you know, 'cause what can you do? His dad was a firefighter and got obliterated. So like, he's making light of it.
Obliterated,
dude. Literally.
Yeah.
When the building collapsed. It's so tragic. 3,000 people, dude. Think of
3,000.
One
people.
event.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, guys, just to, once again, to rehash, like, all the respect to the 9/11 victims and whatever. And once again, with Down the Rabbit Hole, like, there are many conspiracy theorists and journalists and historians that all cover this. And, you know, once again, it's obviously it is America's worst terrorist attack ever. But I would also say that could have been like one of the worst, or the worst.
It is the worst. Yeah.
Like
statistically.
Numbers wise and whatever. So part of this is also just like, it actually is pretty educational in a way. Not saying we're educating the listeners or whatever, but there's so many different narratives and events that have happened in like just weird proxy relationships that people just aren't aware of. So kind of like the JFK podcast. So I tried to do my research as best I can. Same with Shane and Dan. So these were some of the books that people, or books. So I have a list of books, documentaries, and podcasts for anyone that's interested. So me and Shane both read The Looming Tower. Shane,
I didn't finish it, but
I did it on Audible, so
still counts.
It's good enough. Apparently, Tom's has known about this for a while. You know, he was like 25 when the attacks happened. Just kidding. Sorry, that was a low blow. That's my bad. So, The Looming Tower by Lawrence Wright, I think, is arguably one of the best books. We also have The Only Plane in the Sky. So, also, once again, going back to The Looming Tower, that is very much covers more of like all the attacks in Al-Qaeda, the terrorist attacks in Al-Qaeda leading up to that. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really talk about the actual day, right? Mm-hmm. And then what's The Only Plane in the Sky? What's that about?
this talks about all the events during 9/11, and it gives like eyewitness accounts. So it's the only book where it collects, everyone's opinion who was there. Yeah. Firefighters, the mayor.
There's like hundreds of
governor,
people, hundreds of testimonies,
civilians, workers. So it's a collection of their thoughts and what they remember from that day, and they put it into a book form. It's really good. It takes you through everything. And it gives you like a general thing. And going back to what Dan was talking about, it was a normal Tuesday, right? Mm. Until it wasn't. And so that shows you in this book, it's like people were just going about their day, and then a freaking commercial airliner rams into a building, and then all hell breaks loose. So yeah.
Right. So once again, the guy that wrote The Only Plane in the Sky, that the author is Garrett Graff. I think that's how you say it. And then there's also Ghost Wars by Steve Cole, which is another good one that covers, once again, a lot of the stuff going on in the Middle East as well. There's another book also that I want to maybe look into, which is just about really the intelligence agencies. And this book is called The Watchdogs Didn't Bark. And then there's like a subtitle under that. So as for podcasts, if anyone is also aware, I think arguably the most, once again, The Looming Tower is great. There's also a series on Hulu that you guys should check out, which is fantastic. It's 10 episodes. I'm like 6 episodes through, and that just focuses on the CIA and the FBI and the internal conflict leading right up to 9/11. It takes place from like 95 to like 2001.
I don't know if it's still on there, but there's also a documentary on Netflix that had recently come out all about 9/11.
What's it called again? I forget. I don't know if I've actually watched that one.
I don't know what it was called, but it was pretty good.
Well, there's a Netflix documentary on 9/11, guys. Also, once again, documentaries, which are, I think, once again, they're not like, I guess, once again, we just talked about a Netflix documentary. Me and Shane also have gone through some of these as well. I'm just going to list them really quickly, and then we'll get into the intro. So the G'day Brothers, 9/11, that follows like basically two different brothers actually that were on the ground with the fire department. They're filming a completely separate documentary,
right?
And
that's the only live version you can
freaking incredible footage. Like, once again, obviously terrible and tragic, but just like I think I told you this before too. Have you seen it also, Dan?
Yes.
That documentary is so
It's emotional. It's heavy.
Yep.
And
you hear all the
No, you go ahead,
you
go
hear
ahead.
all the people in the background just screaming and crying. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And isn't that the only footage you can get of the first plane hitting the building? Because it's like they're doing the documentary with the fire chief.
We're going to show that video later.
Yeah, so I think that's the only. I'm pretty sure that's the only video footage you
I think
can
that's
get
accurate.
At the time now,
At the
because
time.
also so many people, like, well, we'll get into this later, but so many people so many cameras were confiscated by the FBI and whatever at the actual time of everything happening. So
Right.
we'll get into that. So also there's 102 minutes. I mean, there's endless documentaries about these, but these like 4 or 5 I think are just incredible. Just because once again, if you have a hard time like reading or listening, watching it, and like I said, some of these documentaries are about an hour long to 2 hours, and one is 4 hours that I actually got into, which is crazy. I watched the whole thing. I didn't do it in one sitting, but so there's 102 minutes. That's basically covers like everything going on with the flight and the FAA. What's the other thing, Shane? Norcom.
Norcom. Yeah,
I forget exactly. If I get it wrong, I'll edit it in post-production. So there's also the documentary The Man Who Knew that covers all about this guy John O'Neill, who we'll talk later, who was one of the guys in a counterterrorism at the FBI who was sounding the alarm for I think a couple years. There's also 9/11 Inside the President's War Room that talks about Bush's experience throughout the day. Another one, The World According to Dick Cheney. I think both of those one was on Paramount. I think Inside the President's War Room and The World According to Dick Cheney are on Paramount Plus. And then Fahrenheit 9/11, and then 9/11, The New Pearl Harbor. So once again, guys, those are all the sources that we kind of pulled from. Once again, for the JFK assassination, me and Shane did about 20 hours of research, and now for this one, I think I'm north of 40 probably. So this will be fun. So once again, thanks for coming on, guys, and we'll jump in. So the history of the day. So we'll go through the death toll and the buildings. We're actually going to cover the official timeline of the actual attacks in part 2. This episode or this series will be broken up into 2 parts because once again, there's just so much information and everything. So these towers were built between 1996 and 1975, which if you think about it, 9 years to build a building is absolutely insane. I'm no architect and whatever, but just think about building a building for that long. Isn't that nuts?
It's insane. Have you gone to the new building that they built?
I've been to the memorial, but I was super young. I really want to go back.
So Cass and I went a couple years ago, and it was deep. It was heavy.
Yeah.
They still have if you go in the basement, they have the rubble still there, just for display. But
actual rubble from the events.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, dude.
Actually, no, a section of the building. They didn't touch. They just left it.
But how do they close it off? Is there glass display or something?
I think it's roped off.
Okay.
But
dude, I didn't know about that.
yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
That's interesting, but at the same time, like he said, super heavy.
Right. So this was designed by this guy wasn't American, but his name was Minoru Yamasaki. So I think
It doesn't sound American.
yeah, it doesn't sound American, but so he designed these once again. And they were erected in 1975. So the towers themselves were 1,776 feet tall. I wonder if that was intentional because America was founded in 1776. You ever think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. Because the North Tower was taller than the South Tower.
Yeah,
slightly.
I don't know by how much or
Yeah.
whatever. And then they had
The antenna.
Was that on purpose or by accident?
Great
knows?
point. So other facts, crazy facts about these towers. There was 110 floors, 196 elevators, and 15 miles of elevator shafts.
That's wild.
Just like a monster. And once again, when I go to even Boston to go to hardcore or metal concert, or if I go to see the Celtics, I feel such megalophobia. Where it's
you feel small.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yep.
So also, these buildings weighed 250,000 tons. And think about a ton weighs 2,000 pounds. So just this massive compilement, if that's even a word, of concrete and
Now,
steel.
steel.
the question is, not to jump forward, how How heavy's a plane?
Yeah. Well, Keegan, let me call you. Call Keegan real quick. So also another crazy fact is there was about I think there was over 40 tons of asbestos in the building. And at the time, like asbestos, as we all know, like I've worked on you build your own house. Yeah. I even sometimes when I would do power washing, like we couldn't do a couple buildings because it was asbestos and how terrible that is. Another crazy fact is that, sorry, there's going to be endless crazy facts, guys. So I'm going to try a different way to reiterate that phrase. But 60 people died building these buildings. Isn't that
Also crazy.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So really quickly, 35,000 people worked there, and up to 70,000 people went in and out of the buildings each day. There's 430 companies. They had a restaurant on the top of the tower.
Windows of the world.
Right. So they at that restaurant staffed 400 people. Just mind blowing, dude. It's just and I've been to New York City. I've been to New York City once or twice in my life, and it was very quickly. And when I was young. And one thing that was interesting about this restaurant, it actually closed for 3 years after the '93 bombing, which we'll talk soon.
But that wasn't Al Qaeda directly. It was.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there, Dan. We'll get there. Right. So, and 170 people were having breakfast when the attacks happened.
The bombing.
Yeah. Another wild stat. So the actual death toll, specifically during that day, was 2,977 people. So, once again, the heaviest loss that of. Basically, it was 100% civilians. Just brutal, man. And that's actually, so guess how many deaths were at Pearl Harbor? Just throw out a number.
It wasn't a lot.
Was it like 300?
Oh, no, dude. It was like 2,400. So this was worse than Pearl Harbor. Yeah, because there was a lot of, it wasn't just, because people were in the, in the barracks and other complexes at Pearl Harbor.
Right.
So Pearl Harbor had 2,403, and 9/11 had, once again, just for the specific day, basically 3,000.
The Pearl Harbor thing's a lot because the Japanese were going for our ships. And
Are they accounting for the Japanese deaths too, or is that just American deaths?
I think just American deaths. Like, you could look it up right now. Double check.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. But
yeah.
So unfortunate death toll as well. 7 children were killed and 10 unborn babies, which is just awful. And so for the first responder deaths, the people that are down there getting, once again, asbestos, just all the different chemicals that are in the air from the abrasive impact. 343 firefighters died just on the day. 71 cops and 8 paramedics. There was also 59 military staff that died at the Pentagon, too.
And there was also still people dying after the fact too, just from all the chemicals.
Oh, absolutely, man. And so these buildings, they represented like I'm trying to think of the right word, like the quintessential icon of like American capitalism and like, American, what was the other word I wrote down here? Yeah, just like an embodiment of the American dream. Because think about just these incredible buildings. Once again, 430 companies, not people.
Right.
So, and obviously, 9/11, as we see now, there is a ton of debate and litigation over, was it an inside job? Did we know about what was going on? And we're going to get into all that later today, guys. So if you haven't, follow me, click that subscribe button, and like this video if you can, and share it to somebody. Also, we're on TikTok, too, so check me out there. With all this, too, not just the actual attacks of the day, we're going to cover Al-Qaeda, we're going to cover bin Laden, this other plot called the Bojinka plot. Shane is aware of this. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay, we'll get there. And then we'll cover intelligence agency, Bush, and maybe a couple conspiracy theories. So, obviously, guys, this is a super heavy episode, but I couldn't resist this one joke, right? So, I'm going to leave it here, and then we'll move on, right? So, Who are the fastest readers in the world? The 9/11 victims. They can go through 110 stories in 10 seconds. I guess that's I guess that's a fitting joke for 9/11 to bomb instead of landing. So how likely is a plane to crash these days, right? So
I feel like it's a higher percentage now. I feel like they're dropping out of the sky.
We have seen some the last couple of
Did
years.
you see the thing in
Was it
India?
United?
It was India. There was a plane that just like took off from the airport and then went straight down and killed everyone on board. You didn't see that?
Wow.
Did they crash onto that building?
It was like a medical center they crashed into,
Yeah.
like a college maybe.
I saw a bad meme on that because it's like,
I think the
why
engine
didn't
failed
that? Yeah.
or something.
Really?
Well, no, both of them were shut off. I thought they were researching or looking into why.
Yeah.
But no, I saw a bad meme on that. It's like, why did that building stand and not collapse?
Oh yeah. Because there's like destruction all around it, and
Yeah.
then that building's standing there. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think actually there was one survivor from that.
There was just one.
One person. And it's like, how does that happen when a plane?
What are the statistics of that? You surviving,
Dude, a commercial airline with all the jet fuel, dude, they're like so combustible. Just think about that.
Yeah.
All gallons, millions. Like, I don't think it's millions of gallons, but
It's thousands of gallons.
thousands of gallons of jet fuel, like ready to ignite at any point.
Wow.
Well,
So-
did you see that that fighter jet just crashed at that air show?
No,
I
It
didn't
was
I heard
overseas.
of the one with that United. I'm sorry to call out United like this, but it happened. I think either last. Someone can fact check me on this, but the United plane crash that just I think they had to force land or whatever.
Didn't
It was-
land upside down.
yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So just insane. So anyway, so the stats of a plane crashing these days, guys, is you have to give credit absolutely to where it's due through all the airlines and the FAA and all that stuff. 1 in 13.7 million.
Yep.
And so also I looked up this too. How likely are you to die in a terrorist attack in America? It's 1 in 4.3 million, which is actually less, surprisingly. But if you think about this too, I pulled up this other stat as well. You're likely to die 1 in 20,000 for just a homicide in the U.S. So just something to be aware of.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
why they keep coming out with disclaimers. Oh, it's still safe to travel on planes, even though they're all dropping.
Well, once again, you're in a terrible statistic as well if that happens. So
Yeah.
right before we'll get into Bin Laden, one other really quick stat is that there was a flight. It was called It was Scotland's Lockerbie, the 1988 Pan Am Flight 103. So this was a bomb on a plane that exploded at 31,000 feet, and the debris from this plane spread for 845 miles. It killed all 259 people on board. 190 Americans died out of 200.
Where was this?
This was a flight over Scotland in 1988. It's
Oh.
called, once again, the Scotland's Pan Am Flight 103, if anyone wants to look it up. So basically the way this bomb got smuggled on board was a cassette tape was placed inside a suitcase, put on the plane, and then the guy that put the suitcase on the plane didn't get on the plane.
Yeah.
And it turned out later on that this guy was related to Gaddafi. And I think Gaddafi... he was from Libya.
Libya leader.
He paid $1 billion, I think, to either the victims or it's weird how like victims really don't get it's too early in the podcast, but anyways, that was just interesting. I had no clue that obviously there had been other planes that had crashed. There had been one plane on a cloudy day that hit the World Trade Center at in the 1950s. It was like a very small
It's a small engine plane.
that
Wait, but the Twin Towers weren't up yet. You're saying they hit other buildings in the World Trade Center?
Oh yeah, because I said in it must not have been the whatever. I'll fact check myself really quickly, but there was a small prop plane that hit like way before the 93 bombings, and obviously in 2001. So cool. So now we're gonna transition into the Bin Laden part, guys. So Bin Laden is he's arguably the biggest. Do you think he's the biggest enemy that America has faced since
Hitler?
World War?
Yeah,
II?
yeah, because we couldn't
Is
find.
that crazy to say?
We couldn't find him for freaking a decade. He's
also,
hiding in the mountains. We couldn't find him.
We started war in 2001 and it ended in 2021.
Right.
So that's like one of the.
I love where your head's at, Dan.
That's a long war.
No, I would say he was America's biggest enemy because it's the landscape of his country, of Afghanistan and Pakistan. It was so hard for us to navigate, dude. Think of all the people that just hate Americans there. Then think of the rugged terrain they had to go through, you know? So, like, I don't want to give him credit for anything, but I think he was smart, unfortunately.
Well, think about this, though. Obviously, too, I don't know if I said this earlier. Obviously, this is not, we are going to cover a lot of parts of, some of bin Laden, Al-Qaeda. Obviously, this is not glorifying them at all. F these dudes. Like, they are no longer alive, and they are not with our Lord Jesus Christ. Like, these are arguably some of the most evil men that could have existed. So, but anyways, it's interesting learning, like, you got to know your enemy, right? And Shane, there's obviously bin Laden was an incredibly smart guy.
Yeah.
And it would be like intellectually idiotic to assume he wasn't. So, once again, I'm going to list some stuff right now with bin Laden, and you guys jump in when you want to. So he was born in 1957. He was a shy kid when he grew up, but he did grow up, ended up being pretty tall. Shane said he was up to between 6'4" and 6'6".
That's what it said on his freaking wanted poster.
Yeah.
And he was born into like a wealthy family, wasn't he?
Yeah, right, exactly. So his dad, Mohammed bin Laden, had 22 wives and 54 children. Isn't that insane?
They're slinging in Islam over there.
So Osama... I know. Well, it's weird because I want to talk about honestly some stuff with Islam and sexuality because it has actually some relevance to what we're talking about. But Osama bin Laden was his 17th son, and his name means lion, which I thought was really interesting. So he grew up in this place, Jeddah, which this part of Saudi Arabia, if you look at the map, it's like the left part that borders the Red Sea. And as he grew up, he didn't really speak to a lot of kids. Once again, wasn't quite a loner, but he was just on the quieter side. Something really interesting. Even his father ended up dying in a plane crash when he was young. Right. It's like, what the hell is going on? Just some of these weird. And as we go through these 2 episodes, guys, for who you are listening, there are so many things that are like, sometimes you get presented this information, it's like, okay, does this lead to a conspiracy or something bigger? Or is this just strangely, just peculiar and odd? And, that's the only words that are popping into my mind. I'm sure there are better ones. But, so for bin Laden, his father was one of, Shane, I don't know if you want to add anything of this, but was he a multimillionaire or was he a billionaire? Because I know that he renovated the mosques in Medina and Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I had no
Dude, yeah, some of the Saudis have real money.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't know if I said this, bin Laden was a Saudi, obviously.
Right, yeah. Yep.
Sorry to cut you off there. So as he was growing up, so he enrolled in this place called, I think, El Thagr, which was one of the most prestigious schools, I think, in Saudi Arabia at the time. Some of his siblings went to school in Lebanon. So shortly after, his mother remarries one of the employees under Mohammed bin Laden, and so she took that family and moved away or whatever. So bin Laden became an only child essentially.
It was a $5 billion construction industry.
Was it really? Yeah. That is insane, man.
And he inherited
That's
around
that's
$30
like
million.
Dan building his house right now.
Oh yeah.
$5 billion. Dan's building his
Shouldn't have brought
freaking
that up.
Dan's building a freaking mansion right now.
Gosh. So at 14, bin Laden has a political, spiritual awakening, right? So on a random note, at this time, he also actually. So when I didn't know a lot about bin Laden, obviously I rewatched Zero Dark 30 a couple months ago.
Great movie.
Just another great movie. Once again, if anyone wants to check out some of that stuff as well. Because I heard this one crazy thing that bin Laden went to the U.S. Bin Laden never went to the U.S. At least it's not recorded. But he did go to London, and he went to the Oxford area for 10 weeks while he was in school. So And at this time, so like bin Laden was a guy that was not quick to anger. He was very in control of his emotions and whatever. But as I'm going to mention this other guy, Saeed Qutb, later, but he was always raged at like the sexual nature of like the West. And I don't know how this would be an interesting thing to look up. Actually, I should do this at some point. Is that like, I wonder if like London and like the UK is considered the West. Because I'm like, I wouldn't assume it to be, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Dude, anything that's not, I'd say anything past like Turkey, they consider the West.
Yeah.
But the concept of the West is more ideological than it is like geographical. It's like it's like the free society that those like cultures hate. Wow. You know, Islam and.
But weren't they? So they were also like bombing like Yemen and Kenya.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah,
trust me, we'll get to all of it.
Yeah.
But once again, so at 17 he gets married and joins the Muslim Brotherhood. So another fun fact is bin Laden did consume like a lot of parts of Western pop culture, even though he hated it. So this would be stuff like
what did they find at his compound?
Well, they found a couple things, but
used.
You know what? You guys know what I'm talking about.
So even when he was younger, he enjoyed some pop culture like Counter-Strike, Tom and Jerry, Naruto, Harry Potter, Final Fantasy, like.
Which his religion tells him to hate, but he was in.
Well, another thing too that I was even talking about Dad about this, like Muslims are very strict about like sexuality and whatever, but yet you have 22 wives, like that doesn't make sense.
Dude, do you know Khabib, the UFC fighter?
Oh, did you see the handshake?
Yeah, he was doing an interview at like a soccer stadium, and a woman reached out her hand to shake his hand, and he's like, "No, sorry, can't do." Wow. And that's because in their religion they can't have any contact with a woman that's not their wife.
And then I Show Speed did the same thing.
He did.
Wow.
He's a troll, dude, that guy.
Wow. So like what made bin Laden radical? Do you guys want to give your thoughts on it? Cuz at the time, once again, growing up, and this is really telling in a way where until I like actually did some freaking research, I thought, it's the whole. It's all good. That the Muslims hate us because of our freedom, and that really is quite an arrogant answer. You guys have thoughts on why he became radical?
I do not.
Get right more on the right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was going after Jews and Americans.
Yeah.
Specifically, a lot of it might be spiritual.
I think there is a very spiritual.
Well, because the way he declared holy war on America, so it's all spiritual. And it's like, but that's the thing with looking at this Middle Eastern stuff. Like, I used to be on the thought process like, oh, all terrorists do this, but there's different levels of terrorists. Like, there's many levels.
To be very clear, obviously, radical Islam is not the same as like a practicing Muslim.
Right.
Of course not. And clearly, obviously, Muslims in New York and all over America like did experience like discrimination, a lot of discrimination through this.
But yeah,
which is unfortunate, but also I'm not justifying it all, of course. But if so many people died, and not only, once again, people there's so many different ways that people even died at 9/11. So
right. No, but going back to it, if you want to talk about specifically like what radicalized him, even he was banned from Saudi Arabia in 1991 because his views were so radical, and then in 1996 he moved to Afghanistan, and that's where he was supported by the Taliban at the time. And then same year, 1996, that's when he declared the two holy wars, and it's called the Fatwa.
Right? The Fatwa.
Right. Declaration of Jihad.
Yes. And then he supported, shortly after, he supported Al-Qaeda's bombings of the embassies, which Dan was talking about.
Yeah.
So I think it was a trickle effect, him becoming more and more radical, gaining massive support.
Right. And
Like-
at this time, like Bin Laden has a
Quite the
crap ton
network.
of money because he's
Yeah.
still in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
One interesting thing too that I'm glad that I learned some of this because I'm like, it seems like all these terrorists, whether it's Bin Laden, al-Zawahiri, or even like later on for ISIS, like what's his name, Zakari,
yeah.
Zakawi, they're all over many different countries. I just named 3 different people, but Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Pakistan, Iran, all this stuff. So, once again, one of the reasons why he became radical is when is American occupation of in Saudi Arabia specifically.
Right.
And also at this time, like he sees women that are in the army, and that is deeply offensive, to their beliefs and whatever. So just to add just a little bit more context to what Shane just said. So in 1979, he goes to Afghanistan to fight the Soviets in the with the Mujahideen. Because in the what was the timeline? When did the Soviets actually invade? Was it 79?
Yeah, it was around that
79
time.
to 89.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1982, Bin Laden claims his hatred for Americans began when Israel invades Lebanon through this operation called Grapes of Wrath. So apparently there was one specific part of
Good
this
book, by the
operation.
way.
Yeah,
Grapes
sure.
of Wrath, John Steinbeck.
There's one part of this operation where basically over 100 women and children just get killed, and this is through Israel. But America, obviously, as everyone knows, very much supports Israel. So, once again, just adding more stuff to what Shane already said. Like 85, Bin Laden meets Zawahiri in Peshawar, Pakistan, and he's a surgeon. This guy, al-Zawahiri, becomes the number 2 in Al-Qaeda. In 1989, the war ends with the Soviet Union, and he returns to Saudi Arabia to work for his family's construction firm. Then, as Shane said, 91/92, he gets banished. And this is when he travels to Sudan, where there had been recently an Islamist overthrow of the government. So in here, once again, as Shane said, he plans the Yemen attacks. And at this point, he has $250 million with him in assets through his father's company and whatever. So also at this time, Robert Fisk, I think he was with CNN. So he does an interview with Bin Laden in Sudan in '93, and this is when once again Bin Laden begins to transition the Mujahideen, who are the freedom fighters in Afghanistan, to Al Qaeda.
Now that's the same time of the bombing.
Right. So
Was that after or before?
Well, the thing is, there was a couple different things that happened. So I'm going to go through a couple more things with Bin Laden, and then we're going to go to Al Qaeda, which will have to do with the other attacks. So, here we go. So, once again, 1994, his citizenship is revoked from Saudi Arabia. And another crazy fact: between 1995 and 1996, he was offered for money worth at current day's time $533 million to cease jihad from the Saudi Arabian government. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
It blows my mind, some of this stuff. And once again, after this time, his family in Saudi Arabia disowns him. In 1996, he then moves to Afghanistan, where the Taliban kind of bring him in and kind of assimilate him into their part of life. And once again, in 1993, we have as the Battle of Mogadishu, right? There's a great movie on this called Black Hawk Down. Some people in this room don't like this movie, but that's okay. We're gonna just overgloss that factor. But overall, the Battle of Mogadishu, 18 American Army Rangers were killed, and it was
that when did 2 helicopters go down in that movie?
Yes. So that was part of Operation, I think it's called Restore Hope. So that was when we were basically, I think that the stats were something like 350,000 people in Somalia died from starvation.
Right.
And then
because the warlords were hogging the food and
terrible. And there's 100 million people displaced from homes. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But this specific 1993, not that it was already starting, like I said, once again, Bin Laden's hatred for America started in 82. But 1993, he's like, he didn't have much to do with the Somali insurgency and warlord that was going on there. But this is when he's like, oh, you can actually attack Americans. Like, they're not like...
they're not untouchable.
Not untouchable. So obviously there's another thing that comes up where he really fully believes it, and that's when he really becomes on the offensive as for aggressive strikes and attacks against America. But it was this specific part where he actually wasn't really related to anything that happened in Somalia, but he claimed it as we had people. I had cells and
within his network
in Somalia.
Yeah.
So Shane, you mentioned his fatwa, right? So that's an Islamic ruling of, or a legal ruling of Islamic law. So I have a video here that I'm going to try to pull up, where we'll see if we can see how it goes.
This is the CNN.
The U.S. government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the U.S. is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq. Due to its subordination to the Jews, the arrogance of the United States regime has reached the point that they occupied Arabia, the holiest place of the Muslims, who are more than 1 billion people in the world today. For this and other acts of aggression and injustice, we have declared jihad against the U.S.
Is the jihad directed against the U.S. government or United States troops in Arabia? What about U.S. civilians in Arabia or the people of the United States?
We have focused our declaration of jihad on striking at the U.S. soldiers inside Arabia, the country of the two holy places, Mecca and Medina.
So once again, you get the idea of what was going on. But isn't it crazy that we ended up that a reporter. Obviously, when the reporter went to bin Laden, like, he was blindfolded, all this stuff. Like, it wasn't like he just happened to fall into his lap.
Met him at a Starbucks.
So, Shane, what was wild too? So once again, this is mid-90s with the Mogadishu and Somalia and everything. The Clinton administration deemed bin Laden, this is when he started to make his waves, essentially. They deemed him as a wealthy nuisance than a lethal threat.
Who?
The Clinton administration said that about bin Laden.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Once again, at this time also, this amazing, it was amazing, but this CIA, not program, but this certain arm of the CIA gets, what's the word? Enacted, basically. It's called Alex Station, and this is led by the CIA analyst Michael Scheuer. We'll have more about him later, but these are the people that strictly are just following bin Laden and trying to follow everything. So and so once again, there's another. Bin Laden does a couple more interviews in the next couple of years. So he had one with Peter Arnett. This guy was also CNN. So he lobbed this question to Bin Laden, where he says, what are your future plans for your organization? And he says, you'll see and hear about them in the media, God willing.
Yeah.
Just absolutely crazy, man. And it's just one of these things where there were just so many signals, obviously, leading up to everything going on.
Which is why there's a suspicion of government foreknowledge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's that. They're saying we could have stopped it. They're saying we knew about it and still didn't stop it. And then there's also, we actually did it.
Right.
So I'm sure Ben will get into that at some point during this podcast.
Right.
But
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So once again, there's this other guy, a Pakistani journalist, Hamid Mir. Hopefully, I got that name right. He gets interviewed in '98, where he actually bin Laden. This is another interesting thing, which everyone remember this for later on. Bin Laden said Hussein was a socialist motherfucker.
Whoa. So
people act like Saddam.
Wait, why is that surprising? He was fighting the Russians for 10 years.
No. So bin Laden said that to Hussein.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because even
did I miss something?
No, I'm just saying. I don't think that's surprising because bin Laden hates socialism, and he's comparing Hussein to socialism because the government he was running was kind of similar.
Right.
And it's just an insult to a guy he doesn't like.
Right. And once again, I think if someone could look this up where this is from, look up Al Jazeera, like the platform. So they did another interview with Milan where he says they did this. If inciting people to do that is terrorism, and if killing those who kill our sons is terrorism, then let history be a witness that we are terrorists.
Yeah, he's never cared about being called a terrorist.
Right. So this also really important. In 1998, Al-Qaeda and this other Islamist regime, basically in Egypt, called Al-Jihad. This is once again under this guy, Ayman Zawahiri, who becomes the second under bin Laden. So basically they merge. And on February 23rd, they come out with the statement where basically kill Americans, including civilians, anywhere that they can be found. And so in November of '98, the U.S. links him to the bombings in Tanzania and Kenya.
Were those the ones where they were filming Americans getting beheaded? Was that
was ISIS, I think, in 2014.
Okay. You're right. So
another really quick thing, once again, like because we're going to go into that, just a couple more things about Al Qaeda. In June 7th, 1999, bin Laden becomes on the FBI's top 10 watch list. And October 12th, 1999, he's linked to obviously the Yemen bombing. And there was actually a terrorist plot. I don't know if you guys knew about this. I didn't know about this till I saw it in my research. There was a plot for like what's the word? Y2K, like the turning of the century. Mm-hmm. They tried to do a bombing in LA about that. So it was but it ended up failing. So it was under this guy Ahmed Rizam, who was a bin Laden counterpart. So once again, a couple quick things on Al Qaeda. So once again, they were formed in 1998. Bin Laden and this other guy, Abdul Azam, and America became like aware of this through a defector. Actually, this guy Jamar Al-Fadl, who came actually into an embassy in this place.
Well, we don't technically know when Al Qaeda was formed because they kept it a secret at the beginning. He didn't want people to know it was being formed.
Yeah,
but 1998 is like the
probably close.
It's the close date, and the thing is like. He mostly funded it himself. He had this other guy, Azam, who is a part of the Egyptian Islamic Jihad.
Yeah.
So they pooled their money together and had the same mission. And a very interesting thing, like the rules they set to get into Al-Qaeda at the beginning were very basic. Like right here, it says, a list of requirements for membership itemize the following. Listening ability, good manners, obedience, and making a pledge.
What?
Are you
serious?
That's it.
Where's that from, out of curiosity?
That's it. I got this
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Okay. Yeah, and so once again, like even during like the Gulf War and whatever, bin Laden, while he was in Saudi Arabia, like he offered to protect the Saudi government. He's like, I will protect you, and me and my people will. I don't like not anything but the Americans, but they declined and they allowed America, because obviously America has an overall good relationship with Saudi, which really does not make sense as we continue to go down the rabbit hole in this. So once again, this guy Al Zawahiri, while he was doing his thing in Egypt, basically before he mingled with bin Laden, just really quickly, is that he was inspired by this guy Saeed Qutb, and Saeed Qutb was basically one of the founders of basically this new radicalized thought of global offensive jihad. And once again, with jihad, like people ask, what is jihad? Basically, there's actually two definitions to it. There's holy war, which is obviously fighting against the infidels, Americans, people that aren't Muslims, but also there's another definition of jihad, which means like the internal struggle in oneself, which I thought was so interesting, because I'm like, I had no idea about that. But also think about how terrible everything, all these atrocities that have been done in the name of jihad. So I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, but that if you go even look it up on Google or whatever, there's two definitions that come up for jihad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they twisted the word to their objectives, their violent objectives. Ugh.
Yeah,
I can't speak right now. I'm like Ben most of the time on this. I'm just kidding. No, but I'll
roll with the punches.
They no, dude, that word was probably used in like a good light for Muslims,
Right.
like the internal struggle of fighting off, any distractions from your faith, and then they twisted it and like, oh, we're gonna go kill people.
There's a lot of manipulation.
Manipulation.
Absolutely. And once again, for this guy, the reason why I'm bringing up this guy, Saeed Khatib, which once again, he is the one that like in the 50s that inspired the number 2 to bin Laden, al-Zawahiri, who they merged with. Like this guy, Saeed Khatib, like it starts, as you know, Shane, in the beginning of this book, The Looming Tower. It goes into this guy's life and how this guy, Saeed Khatib, like goes over to America for educational purposes. And then he sees like, our women and just the culture and just how wicked it is, and according, just averse to the Muslim world in many ways, and just how it becomes so, it just radicalizes and revolutionizes their thinking. And so this guy in Egypt, like they tried to kill the prime minister or president of Egypt, this guy Nasser, and Saeed Khatib got thrown in jail. And at the time, while he was in jail, he was tortured and all these things. And while he was like tortured for starting jihad and whatever, and once again a plot to assassinate like a prime minister, in prison he has these like visions of grandeur in paradise.
Right.
Yep.
And so this guy Saeed Khatib ends up becoming a martyr and gets hanged. And another interesting thing is like this is when you once again going back to, because that was like I said 50s, and then right now we're like end of the 90s. One crazy thing about Al Qaeda is that when they would have days of martyrdom, they would refer to them as wedding days.
Yeah.
Isn't that so f***ed up?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And I looked up the stat too, like radical Islam. So what's the percentage of people that are practicing Muslims in the world? 25.6%, right? So that's almost like 2 billion people in the world. And the percentage of those people that are radicals,
it's got to be small,
is 1 to 10%.
Oh.
So do the math.
That's pretty big, bro.
Yeah. So do the math.
Out of the 2 billion.
Yeah. So if anyone can do quick math on their computer, everyone knows.
Well, 10% of 2 billion. Yeah.
Right? 20 million?
No, 2 million.
2 million.
Think about that.
Damn, bro.
And it's not Islamophobic. It's just
facts.
This is coming from Reuters. So Reuters is a very credible, journalistic outlet. So, as we had said earlier, guys, now we're going to talk about all the attacks like leading to 9/11. So at this point as well, Shane knows a lot about the hijackers and whatever. So he's going to have a lot to say on this. But we're going to especially talk about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. We're going to talk about Ramzi Youssef. And we're going to talk Mohammed Atta and some others. So just one other couple things I'm going to throw before I lob it to you guys. So Al Qaeda actually carried out 73 attacks between 95 and like 2000 and 2003. So there was even ones happening after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we mentioned the Yemen attacks. So
the Yemen attack was a boat, right?
So there was a hotel attack, and then we'll get right to the boat attack. So
that was the American.
So the Yemen hotel attack was in 92, so that killed 2 people and injured 7. And once again, this was meant to kill like Marines that were in the area for Operation. It was Operation Restore Hope. So once again, we kind of talked about the 1993 Battle of Mogadishu. And so, Shane, I'm going to hand this over to you. So February 23rd, 1993, the bombing of the World Trade Center happens. So do you want to cover any of that, or Ramzi Youssef?
Oh, yeah. 1993. So this was the van bomb, right? In the basement parking lot of the World Trade Center.
And really quickly, actually, so we're going to have to jump a little bit around the timelines because there's so much here. So that's why we're doing a little bit of back and forth. So please continue.
Yeah, no problem.
The basement.
Yeah, the basement. I think, Dan, you actually know a good amount about this. I saw you had some notes on it. Do you want to start with the 1993 car bombing?
Yeah, please interrupt me if I'm talking too much. So,
no, go for it.
Okay, you want me to go for it? So this guy Ramzi Youssef, that's his name, right? So he
had like another Muslim name, but it's just easier to pronounce Youssef.
Yeah, so
Youssef.
He detonated, and I actually don't know. He left the van, right? He wasn't a suicide bomber.
No, he got away with it.
He got away, and it only killed 6 people. this.
It injured like 1,000.
And there was structural damage. Right, they had to close off a bunch of sections.
I don't think I have a picture of it.
Like you said, windows of the world shut down right for a while because of it.
Yeah.
So that immediately, like the way I look at the 1993, there was a bomb in the building that eventually 9 years later had a plane go into it. Like that doesn't add like any
more operational security,
operational security, like ways to handle this. Like they weren't even, we'll get to the events of it, but like they weren't even ushering people out. They're like, oh, it's fine, there's a fire, just get out.
It's chemical explosion or electrical fire.
Yeah. So the 1993 should have been an eye-opener. I don't think it was for anyone. I think they're like, oh, it's tragic, it happened, there was a terrorist,
right?
And then they just moved on.
And once again, like I can't like harp on this enough. Like this, so this guy, he was from Pakistan, right? So he studied electrical engineering in Wales. He went to Harvard to work on his English, and this guy's Ramzi Youssef is, I don't know if that said that right. His uncle is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Oh,
the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing, man. So it was just mind-boggling that this happened, and so I found out, man. So his original idea for the 1993 bombing was to blow the building so it would fall into the other one.
Into the cell tower. You're right.
I had no clue. This blew my mind. Apparently, if that had happened, the statistics of the death toll would have skyrocketed to almost 6 figures.
Yeah. Dude, and I didn't
Have you heard of that, Dan?
No, I have not.
I didn't either until I just looked it up.
Dude, Ben, it was a 1,300-pound bomb.
Dude, that's crazy.
Nitrate hydrogen gas enhanced device.
Sure.
Jeez.
Sure. I don't know what that is, but and once again, they reference
1,300 pounds, bro. You think of like a regular like car bomber. You know, they have those IEDs or whatever, those small little, made up of various things. 1,300 pounds, dude. Like that. Thank goodness it didn't do too much damage.
We said this, or I think Tom's might have mentioned this earlier. So one of the big reasons, once again, why Yusuf targeted the World Trade Center is because there were a lot of Jews that worked in that building.
Oh, anti-Semitism back at its finest.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. So we're gonna go into the USA or the U.S. Embassy attacks in Nairobi, Kenya, and
Yemen.
We'll hit cause just for the timeline. Yeah. So Nairobi, Kenya. So bin Laden told graduates from Al Qaeda in 1999 that he believed like the Rwandan genocide and Operation Restore Hope was planned at this specific U.S. embassy in Kenya. And now, if you want to think about like why would also in Operation Restore Hope there were 30,000 Muslims killed, a good amount of civilians, just through the fire or through the in the crossfire. So so August 8th there was basically 2 bombings. One was in Tanzania and one was in Dar es Salaam. So overall these two bombings, once again Tanzania and in Nairobi, 224 people were injured and 4,000 were 224 were killed, 4,000 injured. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a picture, guys, of what it looked like. Check this out. Look at this, bro. Jeez. Yeah. And you know what was crazy, dude? There were like the majority of the people that died in these attacks were not even American.
Oh yeah, they were locals, right?
So think about this. So this attack happens because it is Americans. So a lot of local Kenyans and Africans are getting killed because of American support for Jews. Isn't that? So just think of that. Like it's. I don't know. Like Shane, you said the word anti-Semitism, which is obviously true, but it's even more than that. It's just it's so insane how once again, just support for, once again, even as we saw in the Bin Laden voiceover, like he's so outspoken against, because the U.S. Supporting Israel and everything with Palestine. Like we hear about, me and Shane have talked a lot about, or oftentimes like have litigated a lot of the stuff going on right now in Palestine, and it's crazy how that, like, Bin Laden was talking about that in '99.
Right.
It's 2024 now, and think about how it's at the front of our minds. Just crazy.
Right.
So then this is when the bombing of the U.S. Cole happened. So 17 people get killed, and this is where we have
17 U.S. people.
Right.
There are actually
Thank
sailors, right?
The USS Cole. Right.
Yep. And so here's a picture of this bombing. I'll try to blow this up.
Yeah, I don't know much about this. I'm interested.
So basically, there were a couple people that were on like a small boat that like waved to this military ship.
Yeah.
And they came across and they suicided themselves. Yeah.
And they blew this part right here, so
Yeah.
water filled in there.
So 17 people got killed, and this was the attack. Going back on what I said earlier, this was the attack where Bin Laden's like, oh, they're not going to fight back against us. Like they're a paper tiger. They're not going to do anything. And just look at this, man. And so this, Shane, as we'll mention later, because in part 2 we'll talk about the intelligence agencies and John O'Neill. This is when John O'Neill goes over to Yemen to investigate this, because John O'Neill's been aware of Bin Laden for a couple years now.
So this happened.
This was 99.
99, and it was, where was it, off the coast of what?
Yemen.
Yemen. Okay.
So once again, too, at this time as well, this is when I don't know if I mentioned this, going back to really quickly about Yusuf. Yusuf ended up getting caught 2 years later in 1995. So he ended up going to jail for 240 years. So the U.S. did eventually find him. But during this time, right before he was getting apprehended. And once again, if you want to look at the very like a super dense version of this, like very compact, listen to the Apple podcast by David DeSalo called, like I said, I think I said it earlier. It's called 0 Hour, The History of 9/11. Just absolutely nuts and whatever. So, really quickly, so this is, Dan, when I said earlier about the Bojinka plot. So, like I said, mid-90s, this is when Ramzi Youssef and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed were planning on a terrorist attack. This terrorist attack, and Shane, you're aware of the Bojinka plot, right?
Yeah.
This terrorist, I'm going to list some of the things in this terrorist plot, man, and it's freaking crazy. So once again, designed by Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Yusuf. So they were going to go kill Pope John Paul II on like World Youth Day or whatever. They were also going to take, I think it was 11 to 12 Malaysian airlines
flying to the U.S.
And blow them
all up because they wanted to shut down worldwide travel. Right, that was the goal.
Right. And also the way they had proof that this was going to happen too by looking at because Ramzi Youssef, right before he got caught, like they were trying to set off like bombs in their apartment. And he set one off in his building, and the Pakistani intelligence authorities.
Damn, I wish it killed
him.
Like I
said, this is mid-90s. I know we wish. And also at this time, they had another plot to go and fly a Cessna into, was it the Pentagon? Or the CIA headquarters at Langley. So it's like, this plot never happened. If this had been carried out, 4,000 people would have died.
Right.
It's just, once again, if people want to look even more into it, there's so many YouTube videos on the Bojinka plot once again. And this word Bojinka was like a random word that like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed like heard when they were fighting. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed also, he was fighting in the Soviet wars. One other thing too on Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, real quick, Shane, is that he what was it? He also like he came to America in like 83 and also became like similarly eventually radicalized.
But dude, the thing with the Bojinka plot, people will just write it off. Oh, it never happened. It was just a plot. Yeah. But dude, it's really powerful people coming together saying they're going to do this, having plans to do it. Yeah. They never carried it out, but still the gravity of that, like you got to understand. That's very severe.
Right.
Very severe.
And like I said, obviously we're not journalists, we're not experts or whatever, we're not historians, but all this information is very, very accessible.
In hindsight, yeah.
Yeah. And it really just is. There's so many things
no
going
one was
on.
taking them seriously.
Right. And so
at least from the U.S.
Yeah. So they were originally, when they were going to ram like this Cessna into Langley or whatever, they were just going to put, they weren't going to like, they were going to put like explosives on the plane and do it through that way. Yeah. So at this time also, like I said, this is 1999. And when I heard this, and I don't know if, I think this was from one of the documentaries I watched, or no, this was from the 0 Hour. KSM came out with this phrase called the Department of Martyrs, which is like basically he brought this to bin Laden. Yeah. So he brings the airplane idea to bin Laden in 99, where bin Laden approves it. So he came up to, at some point, once again, I'll just for the sake of time, basically Khalid Sheikh Mohammed obviously he wasn't originally under bin Laden, but he eventually came under him. And this Department of Martyrs, which is like, we have a long list of people who are willing to die for paradise.
And that list of people, they lived in Germany, and they all spoke English well. They fit right in. Like you would never know.
Like I said, that's the last. We're gonna hit We're gonna hit a couple quick things on, just a couple more attacks, and then we'll hit the hijackers, and then we'll take a quick break. But so in May 2001, like I walk in into one of the intelligence agencies, said there would be attacks on Boston, New York, and London. So obviously, this didn't end up happening, but this is when the calls are starting to come in, and it's really ramping up all the U.S. intelligences. Once again, this is not just FBI and CIA, but this is like the DIA, this is NSA, like all this stuff, right? And at this time, there's no Homeland Security or whatever. So once again, for people that don't know, and I had to really kind of rethink this, but FBI is really concerned with everything happening in America. CIA is about secrets, trying to bring them back, trying to flip people and use it for America's. It's like intelligence outside of America and inside America. Think about obviously the FBI is like an elite police force.
Well, yeah, they're
in a way.
Federal Bureau of Investigation. So right, anything in America that's very, high profile, they look at. The CIA, they want secrets anywhere that affect America.
Right. Absolutely.
That's why they're big in the Cold War and stuff like that.
Yeah. So in May 16th, a caller, someone phones in and says that bin Laden counterparts are going to this, May 16th, 2001, that there's going to be an attack on U.S. soil. With explosives, but this wasn't verified. After this, around similar times as well, this guy Kofor Black, who was the head, he was the chief of counterterrorism. This guy was a freaking badass. Have you seen him do interviews?
Yeah,
he's just a no bull, just straight shooter. So he goes to the head of national security, Condoleezza Rice. So he's telling her we have to raise the current threat level in May 2001 to 7. And for just for the beginning of the millennium, it should be actually an 8, but whatever that means. So once again, these threats start surging in May, and they skyrocket in June. They didn't know that the intelligence agencies didn't know where they were coming from. Once again, in early 2001, they were Boston, New York, London, and then it changes to Bahrain, Kuwait, Rome, Israel, Saudi, Yemen. So in June 2001, a CIA report including, I'm reading straight off the page, guys, sorry, but a CIA report including biographical info on several terrorists about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed recruiting people inside America, with already other counterparts of his already in America. So not only is he recruiting people, but there's cells already here. Once again, June 2 weeks later, June 2001, they raised the threat to Delta, so the highest it's ever been. So just think about this before, this is a couple months before the attacks. Think about what it's like walking into the FBI, into the CIA. Because it's just you know how we I complain about my 10-hour shifts at FedEx. It's there's just going to be destruction coming. We know it's going to come, but we don't know where. What do you guys think?
You lose sleep.
Yeah, it just
more than sleep.
Somehow, like doing it as your job is just crazy.
Yeah, you got to be built different.
So other context to add to this, the head of the CIA at the time, George Tenet, said the system was blinking red. Once again, there's this whole specific, I think it's like almost an hour and a half part. There's the 0 hours, like an eight-part series about 9/11 on Apple Podcasts once again. But they have one specific episode where it just says the system was blinking red, and it covers all this stuff. At this time also, the CIA... in response to the U.S. Cole, they deliver this thing called a Blue Sky memo to Richard Clark, who is the Shane. Could you? His name is dropping. What was he doing? What was his specific role in government at the time? I think he was head of.
What's the guy's name?
Richard Clark.
Richard Clark. Official. He served as the counterterrorism.
Right.
For the national coordinator. For the counterterrorism, so he's in charge of counterterrorism in the United States between 1998 and 2003.
Yeah, and so once again, the Looming Tower, like the TV show, it shows a lot of like the head of Alex Station, this guy Michael Scheuer, was like, we need to go and like try to with Bin Laden, like we need to get to his people and try to flip him and get him from the inside. And John O'Neill, the FBI guy, is totally opposite. He's like, we need to go find Bin Laden and arrest him. So the CIA, they either wanted to flip him or they wanted to kill him, and John O'Neill's like, no, we need to bring him to America because he's attacked U.S. civilians across the world. So one of these other documentaries I was watching called CIA Spy Master or Spy Masters, CIA in the Crosshairs. There was going to be, apparently intelligence was saying, at least in the CIA, there's going to be 8 different celebrations. And so as like, the CIA is tapping people or tapping phone lines and all these different countries, like there are different terrorists or alleged terrorists that they're watching. People are crying over the phone saying like, it's going to be a beautiful wedding day. Obviously not talking about an actual wedding, but a climax of jihad.
Yeah.
And so last thing before we get into the actual 9/11 hijackers is Condoleezza Rice goes and says, my recollection of that meeting is not very crisp because we were discussing the threat every day. So she's talking about when Kofor Black brings I forgot to mention this earlier. So about the Blue Sky memo, this is basically a memo that's brought to the Richard Clark to say, this is what the CIA could do if we didn't have financial, political, or legal constraints. Just absolutely ominous.
Yeah.
But with everything going on, it almost makes sense. So we'll hit the hijackers and then we'll take a quick break. So Shane, I'll hand some of this over to you.
Okay. So,
or Dan, whenever you want to jump in. I don't know what else you have on your notes as well.
I don't have much. I just more have like facts and timelines and stuff. But it was just stating like the core group was formed in Germany.
The Hamburg cell, right?
Is that what it was called? Cell, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They called themselves Atta al-Shihai, I think.
Al-Shahi, yeah.
Al-Shahi. Yep. Yeah, they were educated in fluent English, and it states that they're not the stereotypical image of a terrorist, which is insane. But yeah, they went through training and preparation, attended flight schools in the U.S.
Yeah.
I need glasses, I think.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, so they all came to the, not to take your thunder, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, so 19 total hijackers. And the interesting thing is they were from 4 different countries, but most of them were from Saudi Arabia. One was from Lebanon, one was from Egypt, and one was from the UAE.
Emirates,
United Arab Emirates. So it's interesting how the hijackers came here. They all came here on different timelines. Some of them came super early. The pilots came. They were doing flight training, like Dan said, simulated flight training at one point. Then they moved to flying actual like crop dusters and stuff like that.
What is a crop duster? Just because I don't know.
It's like a smaller plane. Remember
like a Cessna?
Remember what Keegan would fly out of Nashua Airport?
Oh yeah.
Those type of things. Yeah. So they did that.
Sprays the crops.
Right. So Mohammed Atta, he actually did his flight school in Florida. And by the way, guys, Mohammed Atta, he's the ringleader of the hijackers. So he's the guy that Osama bin Laden put in charge, basically. He was the lead pilot.
Right.
Everyone was kind of under him. He orchestrated most of it. So I can go more on him, or do you want me to keep doing about the general background of everyone?
Let me say one quick thing as well.
Yeah.
So we're gonna name. So the other.
A lot of them, by the way, sorry to cut you off.
No.
A lot of them we shouldn't even name because them, like they were just muscle in it.
That's what what I was gonna like.
They were also here illegally.
Really? Because from what I saw, that they came to the U.S. legally.
Well,
8 cities over 19 months.
Their visas were legally.
They had fake documents, though. Yeah.
No, legally. Sorry, legally obtained. I read it wrong.
Okay, so once again, Atta is the one that flies. Is it Americans?
Yeah. American Airlines Flight 11.
So he hits the North Tower. El Shahid drives or flies it into the South Tower. Hani Hanjour takes it into the Pentagon, and then
Ziad
Jarrah. So once again, F these people. We are not glorifying them at all. None of them, obviously their names will live in infamy, but it's even just weird. Just another little documentary I saw on the side. It's like Jarrah, like the guy who was flying 93. Like he was like he was like a normal Muslim.
Yeah.
Like he would go out to like kind of like party in bars and all stuff. And he was texting his girlfriend like right before this, just some like chilling notes. And
oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
And once again, these are all young guys. Like the average age of them was like 20.
Yeah, Mohammed Atta was the oldest, and he was 33 at the time. Really? Yeah, so they were all very young.
Yeah.
Let me throw one more thing over to you guys that I found out. I thought was one of the more shocking stats or facts I found out about this. None of the when I say 71 attackers, this is talking about from what was it 1993 to 2003. All of those different Al-Qaeda guys. None of the 71 attackers came from the 6 countries that our State Department labeled as like terrorist sponsoring states.
Right.
That's mind blowing, dude.
Yeah.
So other stats like
KSM, that was the group. They proposed a plan to Bin Laden, and Bin Laden gave the green light around 1999 and 2000.
Right. Yeah. So that was Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. So the
Khalid Sheikh, yeah.
What else was I going to say? Yeah. So all these guys too, like they had education. These weren't like these weren't like uneducated, like for lack of a better word, bumpkins. These were like normal. Once again, what is it? 16 out of 19 of these hijackers are Saudis.
Yeah, and if you want, I can go into Mohammed Atta because
let's go into Atta, bro.
Dude, the education thing. So he studied architecture in Germany.
Did he really?
Yeah, at Cairo University. So he's the Egyptian one. He grew up in Egypt. He was always a weird guy. Like people would describe him as like very solitary and antisocial, and like would get mad at random people for
his dad like repressed him as a child.
So he was weird. He always like stood out, and he was like the perfect guy to get radicalized by Osama bin Laden because he had like the hatred for Americans. He shared that.
Right.
He was like very involved with the religion, and I also know he did do like a couple things to try to be like normal within Germany. Like he tried to meet friends and stuff like that. It didn't work out.
Well, he was basically like he didn't do anything in college. Like he just went to his room.
Right, but then I saw something like he was the perfect guy for this because he was an outcast in the Muslim society. He tried to be
Muslim society.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
He tried to come back and be normal. That didn't work out. So then he went all the way down.
Was he the one that got radicalized through Grapes of Wrath? Because that was the one where Israel was bombing Lebanon. I think that's what he personally got radicalized.
I'm not sure, dude. But I do know. Have you seen that? There's a video of him like sitting with a leader. It's not
Of
like-
Al Qaeda.
Of Al Qaeda, and
Al
they're-
Qaeda.
and
That's a
where
good
they're discussing the events. They're like, you're gonna get martyrdom. People are gonna celebrate you. All this.
There's a
stuff.
video of this.
Yeah.
Oh my
You can
God!
pull
You
it
should
up.
have sent it to
Yeah,
me.
I should have. But he has like a beard. He has like the rags on that they wear. And he's like, like like the dungeon looking places that bin Laden would do his interviews.
Yeah, like
it
the
looked
caves.
like that. It looked like a cave. And they were promising him like eternal, paradise and martyrdom, and people were gonna celebrate you till the end of time and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think this was maybe a year before the events too, but.
Right, because he came to America and then like he lied about going back to visit because he was from Egypt and whatnot. Also, I guess his dad was a lawyer and his sisters were like doctors and professors.
Yeah,
and
to think about it, like they had the hijackers, they had so much funding. They could get they could get passports, they could get flight tickets, they get expensive apartments they were renting while they were
they
here.
expensive?
Yes.
Oh, we'll get to Omar al-Bayoumi soon.
They were getting consistent money, wire transfers, to for basic necessities. But also, I saw something like the muscle hijackers. They all had gym memberships. Like before.
Yeah, but also these guys were like they were short though. They were between like 5'5" and 5'9".
Yeah, but
not saying they weren't like because when you go to an Al Qaeda training camp, you think they're gonna like make you be soft,
right?
Nah, dude, like it's just
no. But I'm saying the preparation for this was freaking insane, dude. Like years, man. Like
years, yeah.
It's like people. I don't know if people will think this way, but it wasn't just a spontaneous thing. It's years of careful planning.
Well, you see all these. I mean, look what we all just laid out.
Right.
Like I said, we talked about all these different attacks. We see like Americans getting attacked. Our intelligence agencies are going off the wire. But also, this is where I have a hard time when I look at Condoleezza Rice because I'm like, how responsible like. Not directly, of course, but like partially responsible to be like, dude, because obviously, like in hindsight, it's 2020. It's easy to go sit in an armchair, sit on a podcast, and be like, "Oh, you guys you didn't take the threat seriously and whatever." But once again, is that quote that I just brought up a couple minutes ago? Condoleezza Rice is like, "We're describing, or we're having to talk about these threats every single day." Think about that. Like that gets exhausting.
Yeah, it becomes numbing, right? Because you're like, which one's real and which one's not?
Dude, think about like people like right now in America, they're slaving over stuff all the time. Probably.
It's like a boy that cried wolf on like a massive scale type situation, right?
Clipping that. And I think other things too about like Atta, man, like. In college too, like there were stories where he didn't bathe a lot. Like,
oh yeah, he smelled terrible.
This guy was like an absolute.
Don't they all? Though? No, just kidding, folks.
Once again, please jump in, Dan, if you have any other things on Atta or some of the other guys. But, dude, like, he became like an extreme introvert, and basically we use this word like incel, right? Like an involuntary celibate. And I think with Atta too, like. When I hear this, it just gives you more of a perspective on just their mindset. But when he, I did have it written down. So he did become radicalized and did want to achieve specifically martyrdom after the IDF versus the Hezbollah in Grapes of Wrath. But this guy considered like Mohammed Atta, that is, he considered like women as bad as the Jews. That's like a quote from like some of the sources that I've been researching.
The women in the U.S. or
women in general. And so he thought all women were powerful with their body, their sexuality, and corrupt men. Once again, you see this in Saeed Qutb, who was, once again, beginning Islamist, terrorism in Egypt. And he was so confused with his sexuality, man, in a way where like, so I wrote this one thing down, which was just so appalling. Even when he was dead, he didn't want any women handling his body, and he didn't want any women visiting his grave.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
What the
What? Yeah, and
Excuse
also
my French.
Didn't he? His dad arranged a marriage for him, right? And he completely rejected it.
Did he?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, completely rejected it. And like,
jeez, bro.
When he was living at school, his roommates would say like he was very dismissive of women. Like at any, like they would greet him and he would respond with silence. It's like, dude, if you get to that level, what are we doing, man?
Yeah, like it just doesn't.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And it's so weird that that's like congratulated if you're like an extremist Muslim, because he was going to like he was going to like the most conservative mosques. He was doing the Islamic diet to the T.
But once again, it's so interesting. I don't know if I highlighted this. I know we mentioned the Hamburg cell, but it's like, who would have thought that the 9/11 hijackers came from Germany? Everyone just assumes they came from like, they just came from the Middle East or whatever. No, dude, this was very planned. And once again, we talk about the Bojinka plot. That all happened. I don't know if I mentioned this. This was all supposed to be planned that was planned in the Philippines. So this is like all over the world stuff, man. Like really, all over the Middle East. Like,
well, Bin Laden's network was huge.
Yeah. It just like I don't just imagine being some of these intelligence guys, because once again, I've talked about this before in this podcast, but if you have one misstep, whether you're FBI, CIA, Secret Service, you can't have bad days. We look at like assassination attempts and even stuff like whether it's insurrections at the Capitol, all this stuff. Like, you can't have like bad days ever, and when you do, these bad days are days that live on in infamy.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Literally.
So, and by June 2003, just a couple months before, 3 out of the 4 pilots were already in the U.S. I think the last one that came.
Oh, June 2001. You mean? You said 2003.
Oh, sorry.
2001. Yeah.
Actually, no, 2000. Actually, it was 2000 because they were here for 19 months.
Right.
To assimilate. Also, once again, these hijackers, they're working normal jobs.
Right.
Once again, Atta was going to Pizza Hut.
Yeah, well, that was his last meal before the event.
And that's apparently a really interesting part of the story, where he goes and flies out of Portland instead of Boston first.
Yeah, and do you know the reason for that? He thought since he was going to a connecting flight, he would have less security to deal with through Logan, because he thought he could just like come from the other plane from Portland, just go directly on his flight.
No, I have to go through security
again, right?
And an interesting thought. Obviously, I don't agree with this, or I don't agree with this, implicated narrative. But there's only 2 of them that were actually on camera of the 9/11 hijackers. Obviously, through the manifest, we all know who was there and whatever. But the only 2 people that were ever caught on camera, I think, was Atta and Abdulaziz, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I think there's also one maybe of Hani Hanjour, but like there was.
That's true, dude, because you only see pictures because they travel together.
And you see him in Portland. You don't see him in Boston.
Right. You see him on the Portland entering the airport. You see him in Pizza Hut, and then like a bank or something too. You see him. There's like a security camera.
I could have sworn, I could be wrong on this. I forgot to look this up. I think one group of the 9/11 hijackers, like I think maybe some of the more unknown guys, I think one of them, like, that was in a hotel beforehand, like they tried to get like solicit prostitutes, which is so interesting because like that's how like this ideology is bullshit. It's not actually Islam.
I just heard something on Julian Dory about this.
Shout out to him.
They're like, this guy was explaining that some of the suicide bombers who are going to be martyrs, some of the Islamic leaders will be like, oh, you're going to go to reach your destiny. You can do whatever you want before that. You can have drugs if you want to. You can have sex. You can have sex with prostitutes. Yep. You can get drunk. So all that stuff, you're still clean even if you do that, but we're giving you that chance because you're a martyr for our religion. That's what I heard on the Julian Dory podcast.
Crazy. All right, guys, this is the end of part 1. We'll hit part 2. You'll be seeing this the week after. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.